coming up on the Pete Souza podcast. Be prepared to be inspired. Be prepared to come away from this conversation feeling better about yourself. Thomas Lenè is the head women's basketball strength coach at LSU. He was also the head women's basketball strength coach at Baylor. He's 29. He has 2 NCAA title rings, both with Kim Mulkey, but he spent time also at Drake and VCU. He's got an amazing story. And there's so many nuggets here, not only about physical fitness and weightlifting and taking care of yourself, but also taking you inside big-time college sports and the job of a strength and conditioning coach. You are going to love this conversation. First question I have for you is, you grew up in Waco?
Yep.
You went to Midway.
Yep.
When did you get into, I saw you have like a powerlifting history.
Yes.
When did you get into weightlifting, weight training?
Honestly, I didn't even know much about weightlifting until probably 7th grade when I entered into football in middle school. It's like I always heard my friends talk about bench press, and I didn't know what that was. Yeah. Because I grew up like pull-ups and push-ups and stuff like that. And then you get into middle school and they, it's regimented actual lifting and an introduction to things I've never even seen, and didn't know what a barbell was. Yeah. And then, so that's where my interest started, and it started through football. And then getting into high school, I wasn't super interested in football anymore. Uh-huh. I was always a very little dude. I went into high school, I think, at 113 pounds.
Not little anymore, pal.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So I went in at 113 pounds, man, and football just, that's not for me at that point. I wasn't big enough to compete. Yeah. So I was looking for other things to do to stay active, and I heard about powerlifting. I was like, oh, you get to lift weights. That's really cool.
And how old were you at this time? Like freshman, sophomore year?
Freshman year, going in, I don't know, probably 14, 15, basically. And I went in there and competed at 113 pounds. I got it up to like deadlifting 315 pounds. So, and powerlifting, it's all about weight class. So the less you weigh and the more you lift, the easier it is.
Did you shoot right up?
I shot right up. And I only competed in a few actual competitions because back then it wasn't big yet. Mm-hmm. So there was only like maybe 5 or 6 competitions a year. Okay. And like as great as it sounds, like I was little but strong. Yeah. There was people better than me for sure at Midway that were actually used to lifting their whole life, and I was still being basically introduced to it. And then I did it for a few years, and I think probably junior year is I caught on fire. My legs caught on fire, so it kind of put me out. And
what happened?
I worked at an auto body shop, and my buddies had like a little flint lighter, like a ferro lighter, and they were just messing around. Yeah. Lit a cup of paint thinner.
What's a flint lighter?
So it's just you scrape it and it sparks. It creates sparks so you can light things on fire, like for camping. That's what it's for. Okay. But they had just got it, so they were just experimenting, having fun with it. Yeah. So they got a massive cup of paint thinner. Which is very flammable chemical.
Young guy stuff.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So they lit it on fire, and they were sitting there watching it. The irony is, I'm outside in a wheelchair, just messing around, being a guy. Being a boy.
100%.
They're rolling in. I'm like, oh, cool, let me go watch. I go rolling through the garage door. By the time I'm getting in, the fire is getting out of control, so they pick up the cup to turn around and throw it outside, not knowing I was behind them. So then it lands in front of me on the ground, splashes all over my legs. I cover my face. It singes the side of my hair and my hands. So it saved my face. And I hopped out of that thing, put myself out, watched my
How'd you put yourself out?
I just started slapping.
Okay.
Stop, drop, and roll is not a thing. in an instance like that, you do not think clearly. You're just in pain. You're screaming. Yeah. And it was probably best I didn't because it's auto body shop. There's oils and all kinds of stuff on the floor.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I put myself out, and then they threw water on me, on my shoe. It was still burning, but ended up just driving home, and then eventually got convinced to go to the hospital. Yeah. And
typical tough guy thing.
Exactly.
It's like, unless it's falling off, like I'm not going to go. Yeah.
I'm shaking, almost in shock driving home, and it's the worst smell you could ever smell in your life. And I get home, and my sister's friend's mom is a nurse at Providence. Then I was barely a block away from Providence. Mm-hmm. They told me to go in. I go in. They have a counter that comes up to your chest, and they only see my hands. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, you caught on fire. No big deal. Okay, go take a seat. Ironically, I go sit in a wheelchair. And then nurses are coming by and people are staring because my legs are just torched and I smell. And they came by and they're like, oh my gosh, you're worse than we thought. Let me get you back. And they take you in a little room. They're like, all right, I got to ask questions. Are you allergic to this and that? What pain? Well, I'm pain of scale 1 to 10. What's your pain? I'm like 9.9. And they're like, I bet. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for letting me sit here. And they run me back. And then, it ended up being 3rd-degree burns and all this stuff. They give you this hardcore painkiller. And I remember them telling me, remember to breathe. I was just like, what? That's
okay, it's going to be some good stuff.
I was like, whatever, like, that's easy. Like, how am I going to forget? And next thing I know, as soon as you said that and she's injecting at the same time, I'll just go, like, I totally forgot. Like, you just don't feel it. So, yeah, that was that. And the next day was spring break. And, I was out for weeks and weeks. And you can't just fall behind like that in powerlifting.
No. Yeah.
So after that, I was just done with that.
So that happens. The wounds, they healed fine.
Yeah, they healed really well.
Yeah. How fast?
Oh man, it probably took months before like the scars actually kind of went away, and it's hard to see the scars now, which is just a miracle because it's 3rd degree.
Yeah.
But it was hard to walk for weeks.
Was this like 10 years ago, probably?
Yes.
About that? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Probably.
I'm just doing the math,
16,
knowing. Yeah. Okay.
So about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So at that point, you're like, okay. I get that. You're out. The powerlifting thing is kind of like, gosh, how do I just jump back in? Mm-hmm. So then how do you parlay that into, because now you clearly got the bug of strength training or lifting, let's say. How do you continue to move that forward?
Yeah, so it gets even crazier, right? Okay, so all I ever wanted to be was a police officer or a firefighter. It's all I knew. It's all I ever cared about. I loved fitness as just the thing to do, my hobby.
Yeah.
I'd go home, run a couple miles each day, do P90X. That was my thing.
Oh, yes.
My dad did it, so I put in some tapes, ab ripper X or bison tries or whatever. So
how did you find that? Did it work?
It did enough for me, for sure. Especially with not knowing the things that I know now. It did what it needed to do for me, and especially back then, I was a big runner, so that was a way to also just kind of like look good too.
Yeah.
And build muscle. So then going into college, right?
You go to Baylor.
Yes, go to Baylor, and
but at this point in time, you're still, I'm going to be a police officer.
Still a police officer, man. That's all I wanted to do. I go to Baylor. Stepmom works there. I get free tuition.
Yes.
Okay? Kind of no brainer. Do that. And
my family had the same thing with Villanova University, and it's just like, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yes. It's a blessing and the best for sure. And I was like, man, I'm just going to go here because I can get a 4-year degree, and that puts me at a top selection list for police officers and fire to be a firefighter, because I can get picked a little bit higher because it's very hard to get into departments, and you got to find a way to separate yourself. So that was going to be my way.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, now you got to choose majors and all that stuff, and I don't know anything about that. So I'm going with my buddy, Greg Garrett, and that I grew up with in high school. And we're looking through all the different majors and stuff. And he goes across exercise physiology. And, I'm like, okay, cool. Exercise, weights.
Yeah.
Sounds cool to me. You don't have to take a foreign language? Man, check mark. My best friend is in it too. That's what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter to me. So that's what I signed up for. Because originally I had thought like psychology, but then I heard it was just like impossible type thing to do. And ironically, that was one of the first classes I took. And I didn't do well. That's how I chose my major. And then going from there, I just go through school. Junior year, I still want to be a police officer, firefighter, about to go into senior year. Well, you have to do an internship just to graduate with that degree. And they don't give you a whole lot of parameters on it, but you have to do something.
Yeah.
Well, me, not being a person who's very good at school,
I get that.
we didn't click very well. I didn't click well.
You in school did.
It was hard for me to learn the way they wanted me to learn.
Yeah.
So my teachers and I respected each other, but I definitely gave them enough issues. But it was out of respect for sure. And so going into senior year, you had to do the internship. I had 2 weeks because I procrastinated so long to find something. And my buddy just happened to work at the Farrell Center for men's and women's basketball as a intern strength coach type thing.
Okay.
And I actually worked with him in the rec weight room at the Slick, because I was working there. Actually,
What's the
I started
Slick?
there. the Student Life Center.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually started there, freshman year, and worked my way up in the ranks and to be like basically a managing role as a student worker for the weight room there.
So you knew your way around,
Right.
and plus you got your powerlifting background.
Right. So my buddy worked there, and he's like, man, you really should think about doing this and apply for that. And I had met a basketball coach who came in. So I did.
Who was the basketball coach you met?
It was Tim Maloney.
Okay.
He was here for a while when I got here, and I don't know where he is now. He's somewhere in Florida. But I got into the email chain of Charlie Melton, and he is still the strength coach for the men's basketball program. I said, hey, like, you know, I have 2 weeks to find something. My buddy recommended this. I know Tim Maloney. What are your thoughts of me getting this internship?
Yeah.
Well, he emails me back and says something along the lines of, you know, it's not on me or my responsibility to help you when it's your last minute thing. Basically, he told me just to go away.
Yeah.
And like, you shouldn't have waited, because I had emailed a couple times before he ever responded.
Okay.
And he's just like, yeah, dude, like, I don't have time for you, basically. Like, this is your fault.
Your emergency isn't my problem.
Exactly what it is. And so I email him back saying, thank you so much for responding. If anything, I will take this as a learning opportunity, and I fully understand.
Not bad, dude.
Yes. So then he replied, interview Wednesday at this time. So boom, Wednesday comes, I roll in.
Because again, you and I talked about this offline. You're working with, you know, coaches.
Yep.
So it's not like, okay, it's like, hey, dude, what are you doing?
Yes.
You know what I mean? This is a good opportunity. You know some people. Like, you already kind of blew it. So they tell you how it is. And then you respond like somebody who's coachable.
It's a different world of standards and professionalism and punctuation I've never experienced.
Yeah.
And they don't have time to waste on anybody at all. So they're going to let you know, because that's like you said, it's a coaching thing. That's what they do with their athletes and everybody around them. That's the world they live in. And I had no clue. So to be able to get that chance, it was like, okay, let me make sure. So I dress up nice. He doesn't tell me how to get in the building. So I don't even know how to do that. And all the doors are locked to get into the Farrell Center. So that's, you know, part of who I am is figuring things out.
Figure it out, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So eventually I figure out how to get in. I get taken down into the weight room. Never been there before either. And he comes down, probably makes me sit for half an hour. Just sitting, you know, just soak it up, just sweat it out. And he comes in, and we're sitting on the bench, and it's like in a rack, basically. And he asked me a few questions that had nothing to do with anything strength and conditioning, because I had no idea strength and conditioning were the thing. Still, at that moment in the interview, I had no idea that was like the terminology.
Yeah.
Baffled me. And one question that stood out that I remember he asked is, what would your perfect day be like?
What'd you say?
I said, honestly, I told him I want to be a police officer. So a perfect day for me would be going out and helping save someone's life, basically. And I you know, he answered with, I want to be with my kids. I want to take them to go get ice cream and go play at the park and this and that. Basically had nothing to do with his career, and mine did. But stuff I'm learning from him, a holistic point of view that I'd now adapt. But the interview process was just completely different, but that's just who that gentleman was and is. So a few days go by, they let my buddy go who was interning for him. Okay. And they said, hey, come on in. We're going to do this thing.
They let him go? Like they clipped him?
Yes,
okay. For whatever reason, okay.
He wasn't having a good run there. So he was frustrated with them. So it was a good opportunity for him, obviously for me, but not for my buddy. He's doing fine now. But so I came in and started learning about the world of strength conditioning.
What are we doing here, Rusty? What are we going to do?
Yep, we're doing the King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast.
King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. Yeah, so we're going to go through one episode at a time. Come along for the ride with us.
Come check it out.
And give me a good like Dale Gribble quote to go out on. Wingo.
Yeah, Wingo.
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 All right. Well, join us for the King of the Hill rewatch podcast.
Deep in the heart of Texas, that drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
911, what's your emergency?
Do you hear that? It's coming from the house.
It's coming from inside the house? Do you mean? Could it be?
The Poltergeist. New from Rogue Media. Two haunted hotties talking about haunted places. Every episode, we dive deep into the darkest places and give you a bit of history.
We're getting spooky in all the right places.
You've gobbled your last ghoul.
Follow along for the craziest and spookiest stories with Debbie's Dark Tourism. The Stanley Hotel,
Winchester House,
the Alamo,
Hotel Monte Vista,
and more spooky places. Find us at _Poltergals. POLTERGALS.
Look over your shoulder. It's us,
The Poltergals. Wherever you consume the podcast, you can find us there.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you thrown right in? Like, what's your day to day like? What semester is it? What time of year? What sports?
This was June
Okay.
of 2015.
All right.
So right before my senior year, and I'm doing for hours for school, and for me, coming from a blue collar side of things,
Yeah.
all I know and love to do is work. So they don't tell me anything. This is who Charlie is, Charlie Melton, and then
Yeah.
Jeremy Hefner is the women's
Sure.
strength coach.
Uh-huh.
One other question Jeremy asked me in an interview, because he just came out of nowhere from his office to talk to me. He wanted me to, like, what kind of program are you running right now? Like, what for yourself? What do you do in the weight room?
What'd you say?
They loved this because I'm honest. I'm a very honest person, so I wasn't gonna lie. I said, I'm doing the Jack, what's it, human, like Wolverine.
Oh,
I'm doing the
Hugh
Wolverine.
Jackman.
Yes, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I was doing the Wolverine workout right now. I looked up what he was doing, and that's what I'm doing. And they just looked at each other and laughed. And I was like, but for me, it's an integrity thing. Like, I'm not gonna make something up just to like fit in.
Yeah.
And they laughed, and he's like, okay, what do you deadlift? And I was like, yeah, I deadlift.
You
And,
know
like,
that, yeah.
Right, because I know how to do it, but like what I knew was wrong, how to do it, so
Yeah.
on. But so I gave them that, and that's the integrity piece maybe is what they saw in that. And then, but yeah, so when I came in and started interning, it was clean this, make sure everything's placed perfectly back at the end of the day, make sure the fridges are fully stocked when we get here, when we leave.
What
the
time are you
snacks.
getting there?
Man, I just remember getting there some days at like 6:30 a.m. And
Before
I can't
everybody
get in
else.
the building, but I want to be there before them.
Yeah.
So they let me in the building, so that way I go in and get things done before they have a chance to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Because Charlie's not someone who's going to sit around and wait for you to do it.
Yeah.
He's going to do it because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that's what I've adopted. And if something needs to be done, I'm just going to do it.
Doesn't
I
matter
don't
what
need you to-
level of.
I would
yeah.
love for you to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to wait for it. It needs to be done for everything has to be perfect for his athletes and for Jeremy's athletes. And so they weren't afraid just to do what they needed to do. You're here to help them,
Yeah.
but they're not going to babysit you. And they did not. So I did all those things. I would go clean things, the bikes, the racks, and he'd come over and find some little tiny groove with his pinky
Oh, really?
and show me like all the dust. And it was just, man, Be more thorough. Be more detailed.
I would imagine at that point he saw something in you where he was like, I'm going to break this guy's stones a little bit and just kind of push him because there's a moment when somebody is next level and you're like, look how hard this guy's working.
Yes.
You know, let me see what he's made of almost.
It's like breaking in a horse or anything, man. It's like, how much can he take before he just loses it? And I never did.
Yeah.
I just take it and just do.
What was your interaction like? It's June, so I'm guessing some athletes are working out, right? Nobody really goes home in big time sports,
right?
You know, maybe for a little bit, but they come back. What was that like for you? Like you're around, you know, Division I athletes. Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially the men. They're huge human beings.
Yeah.
And that was something I've never been around that close, right? You see them from afar.
Yeah.
No big deal. You get in person, and it's like, man.
And a lot of the football guys are there.
This is basketball only.
Only basketball.
Yes.
Okay.
Those guys are big as football players.
Yeah.
And even bigger because they're 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". You know, Joe Akil was it 6'11". Rico was 6'7".
Is it Rico Gathers was huge? Is there any kind of like positive interaction you remember that was like you're welcome to like Division I college sports with an athlete?
I remember some of the girls on the girl side are like Takia Cohen, Nina Davis were fairly nice. They kind of helped me just gather myself and make me feel a little comfortable. The men,
it's so important.
A little bit, but they're just so big and intimidating. It's hard to like feel it out.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any specific.
Well, we know you go back with Coach Mulkey.
Yes.
What was your first interaction like with her?
Man, it's just watching from afar because I wanted to go watch practice because I know that's somewhere I can learn from a lot, and they tell you, okay, you can come in, but just don't be walking in and out. Don't make yourself seen. Just sit there and observe.
Yeah.
So I'm observing, and you see how serious she is about everything, and it's a seriousness from a high level of excellence and standard that she has for every single person who's around her that's gonna be involved with her program, because she expects that from her staff and her players. Because how else are you gonna win the way she wins if you don't have that?
Yeah.
So then my thought immediately, and I'll tell people all the time, is I was not going to leave that internship or whatever without learning something from a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Like how ignorant would that have been of me just to have been there, just to be there and not take something out of that. So I was constantly observing, I would stand near her to hear how she handled situations verbally.
Where did you get this from?
Going
natural
through
curiosity or
so then college was tough for me, like it is for most people, and the sophomore junior year is really where you figure things out, because I was not a good student, and I had a hard time with grades and stuff, and I really just had to teach myself, and I would learn through like motivational, aspirational videos. So like a lot of Les Brown, Steve Harvey, like Will Smith. They have all this wisdom, and I've always been attracted to wisdom. And basically wisdom, you take from people's advice and apply it to your life so you don't make that mistake, because they're passing it down for you not to make that mistake. So then I really take that stuff in, and that was helping me get through school when I was having a hard time, like staying up late, really grinding and all that stuff out, and not understanding why certain things were where they were. So then it kind of opened my mind into that.
You understood kind of what greatness was.
Exactly.
And, how to be great. Because the people you're talking about are people who have, all those guys like Steve Harvey, Will Smith, that they have stories of hardship.
Yes.
And they share that with you. So you're watching Coach Mulkey, and you're just like, you just kind of by proximity want to be close to her.
Yes.
So you're picking up, what did you pick up from that?
Man, I mean, she just... the way she coached is just so simplified, and you're stopping everything to fix what was wrong. But why would you not? You know what I'm saying? Why would you just let it go to figure it out? Because they're there to be coached and not to figure things out. That's not how coaching really works. It's the same thing in the weight room. Like, hey, come in and let me see. You just bench and let me just figure it out. Mm-hmm. Same thing, same concept. So she just, the way she would break the things down, like, look at the ball. All right, look down your elbow and see the ball. See ball beat, see man. Look down your elbow. And it's like, man, she just really gives good cues. So that way the player's not like, okay, let me just look at the ball and then look at the man. But like, here's how you're going to do it out of your peripheral. You seen your elbow, boom, that's where the ball should be, in line with your elbow type thing.
Yeah.
And she'll go in and she'll demonstrate, and then she'll place people the way you should place, the angles and the specific spacing and all those things. And it's like, man.
How long are her practices?
It varies during the year. We don't do a whole lot in the summer from a basketball standpoint. But when October hits and the hours change from NCAA from 8 hours to 20 hours, we all use all 20 in a week.
Okay.
We do 4-hour practices.
I'm just because she reminds me of, I've heard like Larry Brown, and I've experienced working with him. He is like that too. Like he could tell you what everybody's doing on every single play, and he'll take, I mean, literally, it doesn't matter who has the ball or whatever, he'll stop, and he knows everybody's job.
Yes.
And he's constantly applying that, and same kind of deal as Coach Mulkey in a sense, where he's just a magnificent coach. Where wherever he goes, there's going to be success there. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
The attention to detail is unmatched, and that's the one thing I took away from it is attention to detail, and that's what Charlie Melton and Jeremy were instilling in me when they come over and find something dirty on the bike or whatever it may be. Is your attention to detail, because it affects everything else that goes on. And one thing Charlie gave me, the first thing he told me to do, actually before I started, or maybe before the interview process, he said, watch Hero Dreams of Sushi. Okay, I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No.
Back then it was on Netflix. I didn't know what it was. Obviously I figured
What
something
is
to do
it?
with sushi. And I go to watch it, and I tell my mom about it. Hey, we're going to watch this. I'm supposed to do it as an assignment. Well, it's all in Japanese. The whole thing's in Japanese, and it's about a sushi chef in Japan, in Tokyo, who owns a restaurant, 6 chairs in it or something like that, very tiny.
Yeah.
But he's the best sushi chef there is.
Yeah.
Highest Michelin rating, whatever, and how he goes every single morning, like 4 a.m. to go find the best pieces of tuna, the best quality of fish possible to put in his restaurant. And you have to book him years in advance. And it's very expensive, and it's like, I come in, you eat it the way he serves it, you don't add anything else, and then you get out. But the attention to details there, the simplicity is another big piece of what I was instilled from with Coach Mulkey, Jeremy, and Charlie.
The simplicity, like how? Like
of everything you do with an athlete, and honestly in life in general, but the way she coaches,
black and white, right?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Like, what's the next right thing?
Why make it more complex than it really needs to be? Like, humans have an innate process to do things and make them more complex than it really should be, because it can't be that easy.
Yeah.
But sometimes it really is, especially when you're speaking to people who don't know what they're doing, who are trying to learn. You really got to break it down to the most fundamental process you can possibly do.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then they easily learn, because not everyone understands the way you understand or the way I understand. And Coach understands that. My mentors understood that. But they got stuff to do, and it's like, hey, we have to have you learn this, because if you don't, then it's us.
Yeah.
Then we're out of here.
Yeah.
So the easier you break it down, the easier they grasp the concepts of basketball, or the fundamentals, or the defensive nature of Kim, and all those things.
When you're there and you have those interactions, you're an intern, you're kind of keeping close watch on her to pick things up. And then what happens after that? Like, what happens after that internship wraps up? You end up back at Baylor.
Yep.
Did you ever leave?
No.
So you go from, okay. So how did that happen?
I interned all summer long, and then, my internship technically ended in like August. That's all you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And now you're a senior.
How much did I learn, right? How much I learned then was predicated on the questions I asked or didn't ask. They weren't there. Charlie and Jeremy weren't like, hey, here. They're like, if you want to learn, you need to ask questions. So if you didn't ask anything, you're not going to learn anything.
What's the fine line between being a pest and being somebody who's curious and looking to get information?
Yeah, that was a fine line that I did not know about, and that was hard to find. And then I experience with interns nowadays. Don't mirror me, don't hug me while I'm lifting.
Yeah.
Go do what you can do. Like, all I did during lifts where I help the players change the weights, or I would spot them, right? I don't give any cues of how to do anything, because Jeremy and Charlie have a specific way to do it. And then after that, Jeremy was good at having an after actions report. So we go talk a little bit, or he'll give me a book to read, and we talk about it a couple weeks later. And Charlie he's a very old school guy, and he's like, he doesn't say anything unless you want to ask questions. So I had to make sure hey, why are we squatting every day? Why do you squat every day? I thought you can't do that for the same muscle group every day. That's one question that sticks with me every day. And he's, Jeremy, come over here. Listen to this question. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, man, I did it.
Yeah. What was his answer?
He said it just depends on the volume and like intensity that you squat with. Like you can't squat 400 pounds every day.
Yeah.
But I can do a squat with 400 pounds for 3 reps one day, and then I could do squat with 150 pounds for a few reps the next day. Like it just you just weigh the loads, and it doesn't really hurt your body as much. So
you're asking good questions, and this is happening. And now you're, and I know this is, it's a really tough circle to crack.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But once you're in, you're in. If you work, like I can tell you got a great attitude and you're working your ass off.
Yeah.
And you're a smart guy. You're in, dude.
Right.
Like, so how do you stay in that stream and continue to swim upstream?
Right. So the way I got in had nothing to do with strength conditioning or the questions I asked. It had everything to do with my work ethic. Man, this guy's here all day, every day. He doesn't go home before I do. He doesn't go home. He gets here before I do type thing. And he does everything I ask him to do and more before I had to ask it. That was a big thing for Charlie. So the work ethic got me in. And then going into the next year, they asked me to stick around. There was already one person in the assistant strength coach position, which was the first person ever for them. So
the first assistant strength coach ever.
Yeah, the guy ahead of me. It was his first one. And so there wasn't a spot for me. But they go, hey man, like if you want to stick around, we'd love to have you, but we can't pay you. We can't do anything. So essentially I was working for free. I was there for free all year long and just grinding.
You're taking classes, so you're students.
17 hours of classes, getting there at 6 a.m., stocking the fridges, everything. So they wouldn't have to do it. At this point, I had access to the gym now. So I was able to get in and do everything. Park at the Farrell Center, ride my bike to class, and then come back afterwards, after class, and then stay for practices, because practices were after class for the athletes as well. Then I would stay, 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. because I would work for both teams and they weren't always matching their schedule. Then I'd repeat the process in the morning. And the days we had games, specifically doubleheader games, man.
Yeah.
You're there. There's multiple days where I had 18-hour days in a row, and I still had class and coming up at some point. So that's like you said earlier, like it's a small circle, and like if you really want it, man, you gotta grind to fit it in. But like that's where my passion started coming out. It was after that summer. It's like, man, I really like this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot, and that's when it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a police officer anymore. Things are changing. Why is that? So then I worked for free, and I needed to do something anyway because I had class. And then after that year working for free, I go into my master's program immediately after school, like 2 weeks off, and then mini masters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of grind it out.
So hold on. Here's a guy who doesn't like school, and now you're going for your master's. What the hell changed?
So to be a strength coach, at that point, I guess I was already like,
this is
what I want to do.
Yeah.
You need a master's degree. You don't need one, but it really helps you, especially at this level. You really need one, and you need to do an internship for CSCCA to get a SCCC, so Certified Strength Conditioning Coaches Association. And that is like the gold standard to be a strength coach. Okay. So to do that, you had to have a 640-hour internship with a master strength coach in Charlie Melton.
Yeah.
So you had to do that. You had to pass a written exam online, and you had to write your own program for what they assigned, which was off-season softball. And then you had to go demonstrate the list in front of master strength coaches in a different city. And then you had to defend your program of why you did.
So a different type of schooling.
Yes. Well, that was separate from actual master's program.
Okay.
Master's program, I went in for sport pedagogy. Basically all the same buildings, similar classes to undergrad, but just at a higher, more advanced level.
What is sport pedagogy?
Basically a fancy word to coaching.
Okay.
How to learn how to coach, basically. So that was just the route I took because I could have done like sports management or whatever, things like that. But I was trying to get the degree because I don't really do well in school.
Yeah.
I do really well at teaching myself. So then I got a master's program for the next year. Well, the guy leaves, the assistant, he leaves to go start his head positions. I think he went to DBU and still is.
Dallas Baptist? Okay.
Yep. And they're going in that summer. Now there's a position open. Boom, gave it to me. Why? Because of my work ethic. More than anything, it's because of my work ethic. I still didn't know near enough to do what I needed to do, especially like to train an athlete. I could do very basic stuff, but I just worked hard. And like things were going to run smoothly no matter what program I was with. Everything was run smoothly. They can do their job really, really well because everything else set up before it was time to lift. It was good to go. Break down. There was going to be zero issues. That's what I'm really good at, like efficiency.
Yeah.
So I get that position, making $17,000 a year. Still not much. Taking however many hours of classes at grad school. Now the classes are evening time. So now it's like, okay, I spent all day from 6 a.m., whatever, at work, and then they get practice, and then I go to class until 9 p.m. or something like that. You know, back then I have all kinds of energy. It's not a big deal.
You still do.
It wasn't as difficult. It's tiring, but it's not as difficult as it would have been now. So it was like that all year long, man, all year. And then 2 years of being an assistant, walking into 2018. My mentor, Jeremy Hefner, actually had left in, I think, 2017, go to Tyler High School. Matt Shadid comes in for the women's side.
Sure.
And then a year and a half later, he leaves at the beginning of the season of 2018. And Kim's like, hey, you're going to be the interim strength coach. Tells me in the hallway right after practice. Brings both of us in there. Hey, he's leaving. I need you to take over. I'm just like, all right, this is awesome.
And so now you're the main guy for the women's basketball team.
And to be honest, my confidence level wasn't where it needed to be to take over that position.
Yeah.
But it got there really quickly because I had to do it.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I need to hammer out, ask questions to whoever I need to ask questions to, really research and make sure whatever I do.
Did you use Charlie as a sounding board?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, what a resource, right, to have right down the hall.
Yes, he guided me, and Jeremy was on the phone with me often enough. And, you know, I've learned how to educate myself at that point, especially in strength conditioning, and like research articles or just reaching out to people. Or just honestly, social media is a great way for me to learn. How? A lot of strength coaches at other schools, they love to share what they're doing. They show videos of what they're doing in the weight room. So then I'm able to, all right, that looks cool. And it's not just looks cool, but it's functional for my team. And this is a good knee exercise for this person who has knee pain all the time. How can I incorporate it with my overall holistic program? Yeah. So then I would play with things and figure it out.
When you say overall holistic program, what do you mean by that?
So when I'm guiding, like when I'm writing a program for the player to lift, so like, you know, you're doing this exercise and this one and this one and this one, and then this is what it's going to do for performance aspect. Yeah. And how it's going to help us do better on the court, and most importantly, keep us from harm and injury. And that was my only goal going in that season, because I think we had played 3 games, was just keep everybody healthy all year long, because then it keeps everybody available to play. And obviously that's the most important thing. So I don't need to try to prove myself by making them lift 500 pounds, because that doesn't make you a better basketball player by any means. Yeah. I can lift. I lift a lot, and I'm really bad at basketball.
Did you learn that? Did you learn that early? Like, hey, my job is not to, you know, try to make a statement here or make these guys like super strong girls, you know.
And that's what those vets, Charlie and Jeremy, were very good at teaching me. Yeah. They've been around the block, and they've been there, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. They know how it works, and it's like the best ability is availability. Yeah. And that's like, that's what I'm
like. Let me ask you this, just like for your, you know, you're 35,000 feet above all this. I grew up as a Sixers fan, and the thing about Allen Iverson is he played every game. You knew he was going to play, regardless of what he was up to. And you know, if I was a New Orleans Pelicans fan, my head would have exploded a couple weeks ago, because you know Zion, he can't get on the floor, and it seems like, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say what I believe and what I've heard. He's just not in shape. Yeah. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to go out there and play when he's not in shape. What do you do if you have a player that you're really struggling, like they're hurt, they're rehabbing, and they're not following the program? Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been around it. You know, I went to Richmond, football there. Yeah. We've worked in sports for a while. Like, how do you handle that?
So it's different for a lot of strength coaches, and I really have adopted a whole new approach to athletes like that. And it starts from the summer when it's just me and them. And it's 4 days a week. They don't see anybody else hardly ever. And I'm around them for an hour and a half, 2 hours each day. And they're doing things that aren't basketballs, right? So they care, but they don't care as much as they would if they had a ball in their hand. So that's where I start off with the approach of, you know, I know you're not here to be a weightlifter, but it will help keep you healthy and supplement your performance. So that way, when you go down low and you have to hit people and bang with people on the court, you're not getting moved around as hard. All right. So I get that aspect of it. And I really have taken the approach, a faith-based approach, because that's just the biggest thing to me ever is my faith is when you come in, I love you. Like, I don't care what it is and how mad you are at me. I'm just here to help you get better. And that's a place of unconditional love. You're going to make a mistake. You come into weights late. Here's some mercy, man. Like, I've been late a million times. You've done 100 things right before that. Why am I only focused on the one time you've done something wrong all of a sudden? That doesn't make any sense from any kind of ratio perspective. And honestly, from a faith-based perspective, it's like you show mercy, right?
Yes.
So that's why I teach them that way, and art of forgiveness. But they also need to do things like say I'm sorry to the team and own their responsibility, have accountability of those types of things. So then we get that stuff out of the way from a mental standpoint. And I tell them, man, like, you look at a way the person is, they only become worse. You look at them for what they could be and they will be, right? So somebody's potential.
That's great.
Somebody's potential within them isn't always seen by them. They need someone else to help them take them there that they don't know exist. So a lot of people, a lot of coaching industries, there's like just bam, bam, bam. I'm going to get it out. I'm going to break you type thing. I don't do that. I really just love on them and allow them to make mistakes, but I'm going to be your guiding light. Because I've seen what it takes, I know what it takes, I know how to get there, and I know you're frustrated and you're a human and you're totally valid in these emotions. Instead of me telling you you're not allowed to feel this way, or like you hurt today, but we're gonna just suck it up. That usually doesn't do very well with athletes, and that's how you go down the path that they don't want to do anything with you anymore. Because you're just constantly...
Come on, suck it up.
Exactly.
Like, we got to work hard. You got to get through that wall.
Yes, you constantly battle with them. So every single day, like say if it was Zion or something, I do this to my athletes every day. How do we feel today? How do you feel for yesterday? I texted a player right now. I sent her a lift. She's going to the league on the 25th, LaDeja. She's going to Indiana. How do you feel from yesterday? Because I sent her a lift, and I'm not there to help and like really observe. Because my coaching eye is what guides everything. I don't need technology. I just need to see and speak to you.
Okay.
Right? So she texts me, yeah, my knees bothering me a little bit today. I was like, that's good to know. I did not expect that at all. And I said, we're going to chill out on that today. We're not going to focus on the knee or lower body stuff. We need you to feel good for training camp. We need you to feel good to go on the court. If you feel good on the court, you're going to play really well. Yeah. If you're a little sore, if a little ache in the shoulder, you're not going to play well. And I can exacerbate that if I do the wrong things just because I want to do it to chase a number in the weight room type thing. So I give my players a lot of autonomy, but I guide them very, very much so. And they know that. And I don't let them slack off. But at the same time, they choose the music and they're dancing and having fun in between sets, but they're not off pace. They're doing what they need to do, and in between, dancing, having fun. It's never too long or too much. And if it ever is, I go over just casually, hey, let's hit the next set, and then we'll go from there. And then they love the weight room. I have multiple athletes who've been to other schools, hated the weight room. Now it's like they absolutely love it. They love being with the team and just being with me because I don't try to be over them. I want to meet them where they're at, and I'm at the same level, but I am the guiding source in the weight room.
Well, you got a lot of humility.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, you know, you have an ego. We all have an ego, but it doesn't control you. And I mean, the way you speak just so openly and honestly, it's very relatable. Right. I'm sure they like pick up on that because it's authentic.
Then that's what I tell them at the beginning of every off season. Here are our standards, and the first standard is to have fun and love what you're doing in here. Because if you can't do that, it's going to be a very long season. Yeah. And I tell them, you know, you're going to see a lot of humility. I mean, when I make a mistake, you can correct me, or I'm going to let you know, I'm sorry, like that's on me. I didn't mean to do this, or I didn't mean to tell you to do whatever it is like that. And so integrity is a big piece of what I want. Because I'm not just telling them, like, I don't want to just make them a good basketball player. I want to make them a good human being that develops 20 years, 30 years down the road. Yeah. And like when I tell recruits and their families, you know, I need you to be able to pick up your grandchildren 30, 40 years down the road. I don't need to like just get these 4 years out of you just to, for me and for the team to get rings and stuff. Like, this is a very short period of your life. And I have a very holistic view of everything's bigger than life type view type of thing. So things could always be worse, and I'm always wanting them just to be good human beings at the end of the day, and that's just how I teach it.
What was it like when you're teaching? You know, you're the interim guy, but you're the main guy, okay? And so it's 2019, and you guys go on this run, and you continue throughout the season. Like there were some low points. People forget that there were some low points that you got to coach them up and keep them going forward through. But then, like typical Coach Mulkey fashion, the team starts to peak towards the end of the season. Yep. What was that ride like? What do you remember from that?
I remember a lot of things to learn from is, you know, and since it was my first basically head job, is frustrating at times because I was still building my confidence and knowing I didn't understand things and be able to control situations. And I really wanted to control a lot of things all the time. Like, why are they doing this? Why will they not listen? Why what am I saying wrong? What am I doing? And then to come out towards them, and they did an awesome job. I remember one time, I want to say it was Elite 8 or Sweet 16 game. We were warming up for the game, and I was telling Lauren Cox and Kalani Brown and somebody else to do some line hops or whatever. And then I started cheering, but I don't normally cheer. I hadn't normally cheered during the middle of that. Normally I'd just say, do this. And then I would say, stop, switch, or whatever. Yeah. So as soon as I started making noise, they stopped because they expected me to say stop or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it very long. So then I got frustrated. I immediately was like, can I not just say anything? Can I not just clap and cheer you on? But it's like, and they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And that was huge on their part because they could see that obviously I'm inexperienced from that standpoint, but like it's on me at the end of the day, and it's not the place to have that conversation.
Yeah.
They were more mature at that point from that perspective than I was. I was just frustrated because I was just so all over the place because I was trying to cheer them on, but I'd never done it before, and I get what they came from. So, and man, the first time I ever warmed them up, lost my voice.
When was this?
This was in a Big 12 tournament in OKC. Jeremy had a funeral for his grandmother. And I was texting him the whole time, we're going to be here, because I was so nervous. I hadn't done it, especially on that stage.
Yeah.
And we're in the Thunder Arena, and I remember they're all talking, and we'd line them up and get them going. And then I lose my voice seconds into it, because I'm not used to being that loud.
Yeah.
And to be able to yell.
What did you do?
Being able to yell is a skill.
Yeah.
And gone. And the strength coach for the other team, I don't remember who we were playing, Oklahoma State maybe, was there, and I was like, man, I'm so nervous. This is so sad. I can't even talk. And I was like, I told Nina Day, I was like, hey, I lost my voice. Like I need you to help me, like, get them going.
Yeah.
And so she kind of helped guide, and I would just do the hand signals, or I tried to yell, and man, it's so squeaky, and like it was so embarrassing. But like I was like, man, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't have a whistle or nothing, and I'm not a whistle person. So she helped do it all. And I just got through it, and I was like, okay, I just got to watch a game, and I don't have to say anything.
Well, hey, go back to me about you said what is it, like raising your voice is a skill?
Yeah.
What yelling is a skill? Explain that.
Another, like, I want to say either during my probably assistantship was we were on the football field, and we're running the players up and down the field based off polar heart rate monitors. I can see their heart rate, and then when it drops a certain percentage, I yell at that player to go again. Well, Jeremy allows me to do it. We're on a football field, very open, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have all the like reflection of sound off the walls from inside a practice gym. And I'm at the 50-yard line looking at the data, and I'm yelling. They can't hear me because they're at the end zone. I'm at the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Nita," and like. Eventually, Jeremy would kind of stood in between, and he would just boom bounce it. But it's like, man, okay, it really is a skill. You really have to develop how to like yell and get your voice accustomed. Every single year, once the summer is over, I don't yell a lot in the summer, and when I have to yell in front of the crowds and like getting teams warmed up, my throat is sore. I almost lose my voice because I just haven't done it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's an art to be very, very loud. And I think that's why you see some like older coaches and they're very raspy.
Oh, yeah.
I think you ruined some things in your voice box.
Doc Rivers is one guy. I'm like, wow, he he used to sound so much different when he was on ESPN as to how he sounds now. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, how old are you, by the way?
29.
So you're 29, you've won 2 championships.
Yep.
You have 2 rings.
Yep.
One of them is right here.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that like to, because I know you get it.
Yep.
You know, you are self-evolved and you're self-aware. What does that mean to you to, at this point in your career, have won 2 titles?
Honestly, it's a humble experience for me. It's something I'm actually battling with now currently to figure out, you know, you get all this fame and glory and all this stuff. Now I'm on a pedestal, right? Mm-hmm. I've had this conversation with 1, maybe 2 people. Because I'm very, like I said, my Christianity is it's the biggest thing in the world to me, to glorify God. And it's like, man, I'm put up there above everybody else. I'm not above everybody else. That's not how I operate. Mm-hmm. And I'm not someone to be in the spotlight. Because I don't want to seem better than somebody, because I don't feel that way. I don't put myself out there that way. And when my friend texted me after 2 or 3 days, I texted him.
Yeah.
Because I needed something from him. He said, man, I was going to text you and say congratulations, but I just figured I was so low on your list. And I said, that hurt my heart, man.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no list, man. If God doesn't have a list, why do I need a list? Who am I to one up God?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like that. I don't operate that way, but I get what he was coming from. We're all humans. That's how we perceive things. And now that I've won 2, it's tough to put into words how happy I am and how blessed I am, because I've worked so hard to do all these things and get to where I am, but I didn't do it to be better than you. I did it to, I tell my team all the time, and this might be very interesting to see what people say, because I tell my team, I don't care about winning or losing at all. That's not what this life is to me at all. I'm not going to die tomorrow because I was so upset we lost yesterday. And like I said, I'm a bigger than life person, or just being frustrated in general. I'm a happy, very positive outlooking guy because the bigger than life perspective.
Yeah.
And I've told him that if you lose, you get what you deserve, which means if you work really hard, you're probably going to get what you need to get. And if you didn't, then you're probably going to lose that game because you probably could put up extra shots or you've done something different weeks ahead of time, right? So that's the perspective I worked off with them. Now, it's also that I want them to achieve everything they want to achieve. That's what makes me happy, is they want to win.
Well, you talked about it earlier.
Right.
You want to see their full potential realized.
Correct.
Yeah.
They want to win, and this is their goal in the weight room, so that the way they can do whatever they need to do on the court. That's what I want for them. It's not for me. I love work. I love to do things and just nonstop work ethic. That's what makes me. That's my talent.
Yeah.
My talent is work ethic. So when someone's working hard, man, it's just like I get that fuel and that catecholamine rush in my body. It's just like, I'm gonna be there with you because you're putting in the work. I'm gonna do everything possible. And Angel was one of those people, man. She just, it was funny. I told her the other day or a couple weeks ago, she was working so hard in practice, and I was just like, "This is
Angel
awesome."
Reese?
Yes,
Okay,
Angel Reese.
yeah,
She was
yeah.
working so hard in practice, and she wanted her water, but it wasn't getting to her fast enough. So I ran and grabbed her water and sprinted out after her. I was like, "You've been working hard, man. Like, trust me, I'm gonna get it done for you."
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to the original conversation, it's just like, that's all I want in this life, is to help other people achieve what they want to achieve. And for me, that's my national championship.
Yeah.
And to keep them healthy. Every single one of those players could have ran out on the court and jumped and had a great time because they had no problems.
Yeah.
And it's I don't want to. I don't know how much, but my faith is everything, right? Like I said,
Yeah.
so it's been hurting my heart a lot.
About
to
all the
figure out-
success and
now people want pictures of me.
Yeah.
I walk in somewhere and they're like, "Oh, let me get a picture." Normally, like, I just like to go talk to people that don't know who I am
Yeah.
and make a genuine connection.
Yeah.
And we just literally just start talking, and I just have that demeanor and the vibe I put off to where, like, they just tell me everything about them, and I don't even know them. I can just go sit at a restaurant and get to know somebody completely well, and you see the genuineness in their eyes.
Yeah.
But now you just don't. I personally just don't see a whole lot of genuineness anymore. It's kind of ingenuineness because of what I've done, not who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm a big who I am person.
Well, you have the ability,
Right.
with your platform and
Right.
to let God shine through you,
Right.
and impact that person in a positive way.
And that's what I've been told
Yeah.
recently, and how I needed to perceive it.
That's the
and
only
go
thing,
about
yeah.
it.
Because all you have is the way you react to a certain situation, and I'm sort of the same way in a sense where if I ever get too high on the hog, or I think whatever,
Yeah.
I'm just another bozo on the bus trying to do God's work. I mean, literally,
Right.
that's how I see it.
Right.
And so I'm with you on that a little bit. Like, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
To stay right sized.
Yes.
You know?
And that perspective is my number one driver every day. But then it goes to show, if you work really hard, you can get where you want. Like,
Yes.
the old cliche.
Well, you can share that like you're doing now.
Exactly.
You know?
And like how I got lucky to get the internship.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to do this. I never even heard of it.
Yeah.
And how your God can change your plans in a blink of an eye. I had all these plans, right? I wanted to stay at Baylor. I won a national championship.
Yeah.
Why did I want to leave?
And that's another thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You're beating me to it. But
Yeah.
so you didn't have like this ride where you won like a title at Baylor and then you went to LSU. Like, you went to Drake. You went to VCU. Des Moines is a long way from Waco, Texas.
Yep.
So that is, again, the sacrifice of your profession to try. Clearly that made sense for you.
Yep.
And so what was that experience like? You know, if a couple nuggets from that, like, you know, going from Baylor and then going to Drake. I mean, it must have been, that's another thing where you have to, you know, you have a goal and a vision to keep these, to get the best out of the players, regardless of what stage you're on. How did you, let me ask that question. How do you negotiate that? You just go from winning the biggest stage ever as the main guy, and now you're at Drake, which is not the biggest stage ever, but your job is still, humans are important wherever they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So obviously I didn't know all that back then. I was learning the whole route of wisdom and all that, and my faith wasn't near as strong, not even close, but it was strong enough. And when Jeremy came back and took that job back at Baylor, because he's here now with Kim, I obviously needed a job.
So he comes back from Tyler High School, and now he's back. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I get it. Kim had been with him for like 9 years. Yeah, like that's kind of a no-brainer at the end of the day. So then I needed a job, so I'm searching every day. Drake University pops up. Their first ever women's basketball only strength coach.
Yeah,
their first one ever. Jenny was the head coach, who's now at OU.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, she's gonna make it big time. She's doing really well there. Like, this would be a good opportunity.
Yeah,
Iowa. Didn't they ever think I would live there? I had a friend in college from Des Moines. Constantly like, man, what's up there? Just corn, da da da.
Yeah,
I would never want to live there. Boom, God sends me there. All right, cool. Whatever. Des Moines, Drake University, 4,000 students, like tiny.
Yeah.
The girls are great. The facilities are a lot different. They're not bad by any means, actually. Yeah. I was very happy with it.
Division I college sports, for the most, you're going to be surprised at, like, wow, especially in smaller schools. Like, this is nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you get there, and these girls, man, different type of athlete.
Yeah.
So then you have to learn how to change that type of athlete who's not as talented, but they just want to work. They know that.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get better, so they were about it. And then I could bring a whole new level of work ethic to them and, hey, this is what we do there. This is how much they come in extra. You need to do that or more to compete with those types of people. And they fully accepted me immediately. They were very good on nutrition already. And that was awesome, because here at Baylor, man, nutrition was a thing, but it's not the most important thing. And there it was the most important thing. And I was the first ever strength coach for them. They really were realizing this is what we need to get us where we need to go. So Jenny was putting together a good staff for that.
Mentally, were you thinking, okay, I'm focused on the day-to-day. I want to make these women just better athletes, and like you said, keep them available? Or were you thinking like, hey, I do want to get back on that stage where I can be with the team that goes to the national championship? Or were you thinking both?
So one thing I told them immediately, especially the players, was you have to believe something can be done that has never been done here before. If someone else can live their dream, then it's certainly possible you can live your dream. And if that's your dream, we can do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little bit more work. And I was thinking on a day-to-day basis. My first ever really head job that wasn't interim and on my own completely not with Charlie around the soundboard or nothing. New strength coaches to work with I've never met before. I don't know how they're going to be. And I was like, okay, I got to show up. Boom. Study, ask questions. I just did that for forever until I started with them for about a month or two. And then it's like I get in there, I have this great program, and do all I just always have the best ideas. And you're doing it, and it's going well. And then the season starts, and it's a lot different because Kim does things. I knew her tendencies.
Yeah.
And Jenny was a new coach for me. And it's like, okay, but now I got to do this a little differently. Program out the window.
It's pretty cool to learn a whole other just way of coaching and another. Okay, because there's I mean, you walk into a room with 12 coaches, you might have 12 different styles.
Right, exactly.
You know, so that's, to learn that only enhances your ability to do your job.
Exactly. And Jenny, man, she was very, very good at communication with me. She always wanted to learn what I was doing and why I was doing it because of what it did at Baylor, how that's going to help her program, and how we could work together to get the best athlete.
So she's a sponge too.
Yes, she was very good at that.
Yeah.
And that was different for me to have to adjust to because Coach Mulkey is just like, she's done it forever. She knows what to do. I don't have to tell her nothing. I just need to make sure we're good to go. He was like, man, I really have a chance to develop him as much as possible. So that was amazing experience for me. And I learned a lot of how to develop a different type of athlete and what was too much and what was too little for them. And I was there for 2 years.
How did you end up at VCU?
So after my second year, back then I really kind of operated off of emotions a little bit too much and get frustrated.
Yeah.
Which obviously is just part of the learning curve.
Yeah.
And I got frustrated one day, and then Jenny left to go to OU, and I didn't go with her. And I don't remember what it was. I was very emotional for a week or two and frustrated. And I was like, I'm just going to look for jobs. VCU. 33 days have passed since the opening. I was like, oh, well, my buddy works there. He's a men's strength coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what it looks like. Text Charlie, and Charlie texts him. His name is Daniel Roos. He's still there.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard is, I put in an application online. They had just interviewed their last person for the second interview, and they pretty much had a decision. Roos runs up after a coach in the parking lot as he's walking to his car. Coach, you gotta look at this guy. This guy's really good. You have to give him a chance. All right, I'll go see if the head coach wants to give him a chance, and we'll go from there. The next day, the head coach calls me. Boom, nail the interview, I guess you would say. And then a few days later, Zoom interview with all of them. Knock it out of the park. And then within a week or two, it's all you. And I remember, because they flew me out immediately to get in-person interview, kind of checking boxes type thing. And I'm such a simple guy. I packed my suit in a backpack and then put it on and just went in. And then I remember packing it back up and changing the coach's office and walked down. They were like, your suit was in your backpack?
I probably loved it, right? Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't need much. I'm good. But I remember sitting in the airport, man. And this, like I said, I was very emotional back then, frustrated. I'm just trying to understand, why is God all of a sudden taking me away from Drake, where I've settled in 2 years. I really love this city.
Yeah.
I came to love it, man. And I was sitting in the airport trying to figure it all out.
But Jenny goes to Oklahoma.
Right.
And you don't go with her.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a new coach took place. And I love that coach, AP, Allison Pullman. And she's great. But I did what I did for a reason. I'm in the airport. Going in line to get food is too long, and I'm a very patient person, so it's not like me just, okay, I'm going to go sit back down, eat my cheeses and Pop-Tarts. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to be patient. Thomas, you're going to be patient. It's in to go line. Oh, it's too long. Let me go be patient in the line, just sit down. I got nowhere to go. I got 4 hours for my flight. Yeah. And the guy's like, looking for a seat. Man, I can't find anything. Finds a seat at the end of the bar where the people come, the waiters come in and out, sit down, sit next to this girl, and started looking at the menu. She asks, what are you doing here? Oh, I just accepted a job. I'm just trying to figure out. It's a very interesting place for me to be right now. The first thing she says, well, in the heart, a man plans his ways, but God orders his steps. I about lost it right then and there, because my faith had grown so much in those 2 years being alone.
Yeah.
And I was like, for that to be the first thing she said to me is like, okay, I know what I'm doing is the right path. Mm-hmm. So that goes by, drive to VCU, pack up my stuff in the car once again, whatever I could fit, I'm taking. That's it.
And by the way, this all goes back to what you've told me today. It's like, it's simple.
Yeah.
Just simplicity. Yes. Like yes. Simplicity. Like you don't have to overcomplicate things. Right. This is the right move. Spiritually, God, the door is opening now.
Yeah.
After one it's shut, but it's tough to see at the time. I'm sitting here talking like I'm perfect at it. I'm not in my own life, but it's clear that this is all happening, and you're getting the signposts.
Yes,
that you
exactly.
need.
That's the craziest thing when you start actually seeing it and hearing it.
Yeah.
And then, I go to VCU, dude, and the nicest facilities I've ever been around. The arena is like a historical thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, the Coliseum, right?
Yeah, but they have this brand new basketball facility for basketball, men's and women's only. They have their own chefs in there, and it's like the nicest thing ever.
Final Four will do that for you, right?
Yes,
Going to the Final Four in 2012 or 11, yeah.
So I was like, this is awesome. And my buddy works here. So I get to doing that. And, the biggest part of that, especially from a faith perspective, is like I started talking to these athletes who also just want to work really hard, because they're the same type of athletes for the most part, not as talented, but they really grabbed on to what I was saying about what we needed to do and how we needed to get there and why you need to believe in yourself. Because I would always ask them, who do you believe in? What do you believe in? And I believe in God, I believe in a family and this. And I was like, yeah, you never said yourself. So then it's like, okay, boom, we're opening eyes. And then and all of a sudden they started talking to me, because I like I said, I coach from a faith-based perspective. Is I thought I had to go to church to be a believer in Christ. And it's like, no, man, like you don't have to. And then I start going that route with them. And then you get the buy-in pretty easily. Mm-hmm. Also on top of that, because they just know you're for them. And we we train hard for all summer long, hardest they've ever. The coach is loving it. We're all science-based principles and all types of things, man. And I had 2 ACL injuries that year. And then it's just like, those things ate me up.
I was about to ask you that question. When you see a roster, or if it's, God forbid, your own, where you're seeing people get these injuries, some of which season-ending, possibly career-threatening, how does that affect you?
It's hard, man. You lose so much sleep because you're the sole person who can prevent it.
Yeah.
So you have to do everything.
But can you? I mean,
right? You never 100%. No, you 100% never.
We're talking about controlling God. Yes, yeah.
But you have a good enough say in what you're doing to 70-80%. Man, like you can really, because if you don't do anything, an energy raise definitely going to happen probably. But what you do makes the biggest difference, and and that's all on me.
Have you ever had a coach? And you don't have to, point anybody out. Have you ever heard of a coach looking at the strength coach being like, "Hey, what's the deal, dude?"
All the time, and in our profession, man, because like I said, we're the only ones who can really have any kind of chance at helping improve their ability to not be injured or not get hurt. Now, sometimes like a contact injury, it is what it is, but like you can also reduce that to a little bit of extent, or at least give them a hope and a chance.
How do you reduce the contact? Okay,
keeping things strong, like they can take all like football, right? Like you get hit all the time, but if you didn't ever lift or do anything like that, you probably get hurt a lot faster.
Yeah.
Same with basketball, is very physical. So making sure everything's strong enough to where it can take what it can take. But there's sometimes some people's bodies they can only do so much. Yeah. No matter how strong you are.
Well, and that stinks for them because you become injury prone, and that's
exactly
that's unfortunate.
And a lot of it also can be just like your mental status of it all. Like if you really are just scared all the time, you're not going to perform very well because you're in this like high alert stage of stress, and that really eats up your body. So you got to have the confidence to go in and not worry about anything but putting that ball in the hoop or doing what you got to do. If you're thinking about other things and you're not, then your body's a little unsure of its movement.
And that wears you out. Dude.
Exactly. And then you can just get injured. But like, it's hard. Like I said, when someone does 2 ACLs, I think about it all the time. What can I have done differently? What can I have done better? I text that AT every once in a while, the athletic trainer.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's what I've gathered. Why this one? We had a week off before it, and all of a sudden we come back, and they weren't with you or anything. That's why this one happened.
What about when a coach is? And I love Bobby Knight. I mean, he's a nut, right? But I'm just fascinated. There was a book, A Season on the Brink. John Feinstein wrote it. It was years ago, and it just followed him the whole year, right? And this is craziness. Now they lose a game. They get back, like they practice like 3 times in one day, and guys get hurt. What is and it's all on him. It's his fault. You know what I mean? There's nobody who can get in the way. I mean, he you could tell he kind of admitted in the book. But how do you and I don't want to use the word intervene, but do you kind of have input with coaches like, hey, I think they need a day off today, or I think and the coaches listen, because I would imagine that's instrumental in their ability to stay available and to keep going. And sometimes you mentioned being emotional. Coaching is the most stressful thing in the world. One of, how do you get them to do the right thing by the team and health wise?
Yeah, so,
it's got to be hard.
Like every coach is different, man.
Yeah,
the younger ones are figuring things out still, so it was easy for me to have an open door communication and things like that. And like, coach, I remember at Drake especially, like I was watching things in practice. I'm like, hey, we really need to come out. This girl needs to come out right now because we got to play tomorrow, and her numbers are way too high, and this is not what she should be at. There's obviously some level of stress that she's going through.
What numbers? What do you mean, like?
The heart rate monitors that I used to watch.
Okay.
Like, she's running 88% of 100% of her heart rate max of what it could beat at.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not doing anything. Like, it shouldn't be that high. She's obviously not recovered from the day before. We need to reduce the amount of practice. Man, Jenny.
Do all these athletes wear monitors during practice?
Different schools. Once again, like Drake, I did it a lot. VCU, we did it a lot, and we had it for everybody to see. And but it can also be used in the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Depending on the coach, like they're not. Their heart rate's not in the red. They're not working hard enough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean? So then but that's my job to teach how you should interpret that, because that's what I'm there for and that's what I do. Like Coach Mulkey, right? I don't do it anymore with Coach Mulkey. I do it in the summer for my own conditioning for them to get them ready. Yeah. But during the season, she's going to do what she's going to do.
Yeah, you know how to work with that.
For 40 years.
Yes.
And there's nothing new I can tell her that's going to change the way she's going to win.
Yeah.
So for me, with her, it's knowing her tendencies of what she's going to do in practice, or just making sure I observe practice so closely that I adjust what I'm doing all the time. And that's how I do it. Is practice was very hard today. All right, we're taking this out of the lift, taking this out of the lift. We're just gonna do this.
So
You're in and out in 10
you can
minutes.
control what you can control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Charlie Melton has a good way to put it. It's like sometimes you have to be a brake pedal.
Yeah.
Like you said, coaches will get very emotional very easily.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that leads them to, we're running a little bit extra because of this or that.
Yeah.
So then I got to make sure like I'm just steady state all the time, even kill. Like I'm there for the protection of them. If I go hard in the weight room, they just went hard out there. Well, they're probably not going to do very well the next day, no matter what it is. And they might get hurt. So like I said, at the end of the day, if they get hurt, it's on me. So like I need to be the brake pedal. I'm not here to chase numbers. I'm here to chase performance and health and availability on the court.
I love how that's such I mean, like the biggest component of it. I'm telling you, the average person doesn't know that. Just keep them available.
Yes.
All right, a couple more things. I don't want to keep you here all day. You end up back at Baylor. I mean LSU, back with Coach Mulkey. What is that? I got to imagine that's probably a pretty awesome moment, how that played out. How does it play? I mean, she's been there for 1 year. And then obviously she had success, but you clearly are in the right place now. How do you end up back there? How does that take us through those events?
So I was at VCU for 9 months. Basically got there in July, one season through. Coach calls me, I think, close to end of April or beginning of May or something like that, asking if I was interested in coming back.
How often do you keep in touch with her?
Man, she's great. She treats me like like her own child. When I moved to Drake, she like within a few weeks, she's like, "Hey, you have everything you need." I was like, "Yeah, Coach. Like what's I'm a simple man already, but like I was in the apartment, don't have a bed or nothing. I was, yeah, Coach, I'm good. I got an air mattress. That's all I got right now.
Yeah.
Why you don't have a bed yet? Let me send you a bed. Let me get you this and that. What else do you need?" And so she's every once in a while she's good at keeping in touch, man. Like she's a good-hearted woman, man, and I love it. Treats me like her own. So same thing with VCU. Every once in a while, because she's take care of her stuff. Well, we reach out to each other just to say what's up.
It's busy. I can't imagine how both you guys.
Exactly. So then, well, whatever. Late April, early May, she calls. Hey, I got the spot open. Are you interested? I was like, yeah, Coach, I'm interested. But for me, I was battling like, okay, I'm very happy where I'm at. And I had been telling people for a little while, I was like, I've learned that, I'm not chasing salary or fame or anything. I think it's more important to be happy where I'm at and what I'm doing. So it's like, man, I'm really happy here. Like, why would I think about going? Like, but it's like, okay, I write down pros and cons and all these other things, pray about it. And it's like, okay, Hall of Fame coach. I was 28 at the time. It sets your career up for life as long as you do well, right?
Yes.
Sets your career up for life. And no one gets this opportunity ever, one, for a Hall of Fame coach to call you and ask if you want to come back. And then two, it's like to go work for anybody who's even in the Hall of Fame, just to even know somebody, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay. And it's closer to home. I'm only 6.5, 7 hours away from Waco. It's an easy drive. Virginia, like it's not even talking about driving. It's like 22 hours. Yeah. And for Iowa, it was like a 13-hour drive. So like, man, I can go see my family more often. My parents are getting older. My grandparents are getting older. Like, there's only so much time left in life for them. Like, I can easily bounce back and forth on a weekend now. So it came down to that. It came down to the family piece, and then it sets you up for the rest of your life career wise. And I don't think a lot of people get that blessing in general. So if I can do that and then have the stage that I do now to help people understand and learn how to get there, like it's what I'm meant to do here now. So, and it was a battle. Like I said, I was so happy. Yeah. It was so cool. I had the best weight room possible, like the best guy to work with. It was awesome. It's like, God's like, I think I need you down here, man. I think you need to go. Like, okay, let's do it. And now it's like, I would have never guessed, one, we would have not championship this year, but that I would have felt the way I felt after winning it. It's like, dang, this is great. But like, why is my heart hurt from all this about the fame and all that? Yeah. So like now I have a different way to see things and learn from and teach others. Yeah. It's always about teaching others.
Well, let me ask you this. So this is, I mean, this season for you also culminating, 90 minutes from home, at American Airlines Arena, you guys, and it's, look, man, this was this was an incredible year to be watching women's college basketball. I mean, the characters were there. You talked about Coach Mulkey she is now evolving into just somebody who you might see her on like the PTI set, just her head. You probably will.
Yeah.
And she's way bigger than that.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like she's becoming, a household name. And women's basketball we're talking about. I mean, that's Pat Summitt, that's Kim Mulkey. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people, but you get the idea.
Yes.
And now, she's able to face off with Caitlin Clark, and you guys have Angel Reese and Dawn Staley in the Final Four. It's just an amazing time for women's college basketball. Were you aware of that? Or because a lot of times successful teams are in their bubble. You do what you have to do. Were you aware of the magnitude of the moment?
Not that it would have been like what happened with 9.9 million viewers and all that. I definitely that thought or anything like that didn't cross my mind. I kept up with them enough to see the fan base that was filling the PMAC all the time, the arena. And I was like, man, that's amazing that she did that so fast.
Yeah.
But then to have what we did this year, no one really expected the fan base, one, locally and nationally, to do what it did all year long consistently.
Yeah.
Like, it really goes to show, what she can grow in her home state.
Yes.
And so I was not aware of the magnitude of the time. I just saw it as an opportunity to be with her again and to help her achieve what she wants to achieve, too.
Yeah. What was it like to be I can't imagine the emotion for her, and just to be around when we saw it, but just to be around that. I mean, and I talked to Julie, Hayes, and she's real close with Kim, and I'm real close with Julie, and I'm just a sports nut, so I'm always fascinated about what it's like to be around that. You were right there, around a Hall of Fame coach you could not write a better script, dude.
Never. No.
So for her, I mean, it's so. What was it like to be around that? And were you aware of how special this was for her? I guess that's a long question, but yeah.
For the specialness of the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, dude, LSU was they weren't a powerhouse,
right?
And now they're winning a national championship.
Right. When she got there, I don't know if you've seen her interview, or she pointed up the banners and there's no national championship.
Yeah.
That's what I came here to do.
Yeah.
But all year long, our goal was to win one more game in the NCAA tournament than last year, one more game in the SEC tournament. She breaks it up into seasons, and then we did that, boom, check mark. And it's like an NCAA tournament. All right, we got the round 2 last year. That's what we just need to at least do that. Let's hopefully maybe we get Sweet 16, Elite 8. That's what we want to hope for. And then it kept happening. We kept rolling. We kept doing what we do and just preparing, and just surreal what happened. And she would tell you the same thing right now. It's still probably surreal to her, to do it in 2 years when she knew and understood that she came in to rebuild a program. And it was, hey, she kept telling me all year long, it's not a quick process. I know all the pressure you are putting on us right now. That's why we have an easier schedule or whatever.
Yeah.
We're here to rebuild. It's not supposed to be an overnight thing. So we don't have the expectations to do what we did.
Which is nice. You're kind of playing with house money.
Right.
What separates, you've been around a bunch of different teams. What is the mentality of a Kim Mulkey squad? What separates them? Because we talk about, everybody's ability and skill level. Clearly there's something happening that's bigger than sports, bigger than basketball. What is happening, if you can give us a window?
Yeah, so I mean, part of that is we had 5 freshmen last year, and then we had I don't remember how many transferred. 9. We had 9 new people total on the team, right? And then only 1 or 2 people that returned from her first year to play. So our whole motto all year long was to piece it together, because how you get 9 new people to learn your philosophy, especially the transfers, other things from other coaches and how to play a whole different way than what you did. You got to reteach them everything. And it's the belief she puts into other people, because she's hard and demanding on you, and she's going to tell you straight up what you need to do and how to fix it so that we get to where we want to go, and to never take anything personal or offensive, because she's just straightforward. But why wouldn't you be? Because who wants to beat around the bush and wait forever to get a little bit better, when I can just tell you right now, boom, if you'll fix it, I'm much better than the person who's still trying to figure it out because we're going to be really, really nice about it or something like that.
Yeah.
So she builds this personal belief in yourself first, and then you believe in everything we're doing because she's the same person every day when she shows up. So when you see that high level of excellence that's consistent, it's like, man.
Do you see momentum build within these young women, like confidence grow?
Yes, all year long. Because, I mean, all summer, that was my main focus is how do I get all these new people to click and learn and have a good culture so that way they can talk to each other freely, because that's what you're going to need to do on the court is learn how to communicate. And so that was a main focus all summer long, and we would do little activities. I wouldn't go play beach volleyball and stuff like that, just enjoy each other, to get to know each other. And then Kim would back it up all year long in practices and stuff like that, especially like, say if like I'm being the bad guy, all of a sudden I got to make you do something. Well, then you really have to stay together as a team, so that way you're not affected by what's going on outside of you. And like one thing I tell players all the time is like, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. And like you never know, especially with like media and stuff coming at you.
Oh yeah.
And like it's NIL perspective, that happens a lot. So like that was a big focus for me. And you know, someone's opinion of you doesn't have to become your reality. So when we're going all year long, is building the belief in yourself, and everyone believes in themselves. It's a lot easier to communicate because you know who you are. And then coach is like, this is what our goal is. This is what we can do each day. And if you haven't done anything better than you did yesterday, then you're wasting your time. She would say things like that. And when we win a big game, she's like, all right, that's great. Like, now flush it. Like, we need to move on. Because that's not the goal. Like, she would tell them, you haven't done any, you've won games, but you haven't done anything relevant yet. And that was very, very true all year long. Especially non-conference, going into conference and doing things like no one ever gave us credit, so we didn't do anything relevant. So it was just, she's great at what she does. I mean, she's 1-4 for a reason. So.
Well, dude, Thomas, I cannot thank you enough. Anything else you want to share? I got one thing for you. Enjoy it a little bit, all right?
Yes,
I know you're enjoying it a lot, but like, have fun. I think like the process you're going through, like, you know, I just think it speaks to who you are and your humility. But don't forget to enjoy the ride. You know, don't be hard on yourself.
No, definitely. I'm trying to go fishing tomorrow. That's what I want to do.
Okay, cool. Well, I thank you so much. Man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it too. Thank you.
Great job.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.